And we'll start with a statement from Coach, and then we'll take questions.
What's up? It's good to see everybody. Great night. I love being in Arizona Stadium. Obviously, this is the first time we've been able to get in here this training camp so far. I think it's important for our players to just be on the surface we play on. I think it's important for them to feel the atmosphere, or just feel the environment, the lights, all of it, just what the turf's like. And so it was a great night. It's one of those things that we're talking about a lot, with our campaign in the fall, Own the Night, and with just as many night games as we play here at the U of A, just finding ways to get us in here at nighttime, to get us a chance to feel what it feels like and be in the place where we're going to play games. And I'm excited, watching the guys run around, the excitement. Nighttime practices always have great energy, so that was a lot of fun. I know we've got a big week ahead. We've got a lot of work to do still, and we're looking forward to next weekend on the 16th when we have the Meet the Team event, where it's going to be a great opportunity for everybody in Tucson to meet our players and be around them and get a feel for what they're all about. And I think that'll be awesome. And then Sunday night, 17th, we have an open practice. So I'm looking forward to all of it. We're 9 days in. I like where we're at. We got a lot of work to do, and we're moving forward.
We'll start with Justin and then Michael.
So Chris Hudson had a big practice today, making a couple acrobatic catches. What's special about his playmaking abilities and just kind of what he's going to do for the offense?
Well, I think our expectations for Chris are really high. He's a young man that's played a lot of football, so he has, he kind of matches high-level talent with a lot of experience. And and then you see him, he plays with a lot of confidence out there, and I think that's one of those things that's a lot of fun. He's a really technically sound receiver. I mean, he's fantastic. Just me as a receiver guy, I'm always trying to pick on little things with him. Really, but he's really, really clean that way. And so it's fun. It's fun to see him make the plays. I think him and Noah are building some good chemistry. And I'm excited to see the things he's going to do this fall.
Michael and Jason.
Gio Richardson is one of the guys we're going to talk to here in a little bit. What are your impressions of his game so far?
Well, it's fun, right? Because Gio had the injury at the end of his high school career, so he was unavailable in spring practice. It's been great to see him really push and get healthy and start to find ways to get into the mix this fall. My favorite thing about Gio is that he's a tough ass kid, and you saw that in high school. He played both ways. Obviously on a really good high school football team. He's competitive as all get out, and then he's got real speed. And so he plays with a nice confidence and nice swagger out there. He's young, but he does not look like a young player running around out there with the offense.
Jason and then Troy.
Well, the two-question round. What's clicked for Malachi Bailey from spring to now?
You got to ask him. I mean, that's a good question. I think for a lot of those guys, a lot of the transfer portal guys, that thing happens fast. And I think there's a little bit of just kind of shell shock. Totally new environment, totally different from where he's from. He's away from family. He's kind of on the other side of the country. And, I think there's a lot of players, when they go through the portal, they don't, how can they anticipate that? They've never experienced it before, right? And I think that's something for him, getting used to new teammates, getting used to new scheme, used to a new university, a new city, a new apartment, new room, just all those things. There's so much new. So I think really it's been fun to see him settle in and really start to make some plays in the practice environment over the last couple of days.
And then with a guy like Gio and Wesley, we're going to be talking also, how do you balance the 4 games versus, you're going to burn your red shirt type of deal?
That's a good question. Honestly, if they can help us win, they're going to play. And so to me, there's no balance there. The only way there's a balance is if you don't think they're good enough to help us win every week. If they're good enough to help us win every game, they're going to play.
Troy and then David.
Obviously, Gio, very talented player, but what stood out for you about his game when you finally got to see him play after going through the injuries in the spring?
Well, I think he's really smart, and so he's an incredibly good student here at the U of A already. And so he's someone, sometimes that's one of those things that is a hurdle for freshmen. It's just there's so much more volume, there's so much more inventory of plays and concepts, and the defenses are different, and there's more disguise, and so sometimes they struggle kind of learning all those things and putting them all together. But he's so diligent with his process that he keeps finding ways to, I feel like he's really improving, he's accelerating his process as we get, deeper and deeper into camp. And because he's doing that, he's playing better, and so he's getting more reps, and he's making the most of those reps. And so I think that's one of the cool things. We tell every player that, I tell every player that, if we give you 2 reps, those 2 reps need to say that you should get 4. Like, you need to prove it. Like, you want to be first team, then prove it. You're going to get a chance. Let's see what you got. And so far, Gio's done a nice job of taking advantage of the reps he's getting.
David and then Justin.
Coach, your defense has made a ton of plays in this first 9 days. What has excited you most about what you've seen from them?
I just love how hard they're playing. I think that's one of the things that Coach Gonzalez and the defensive staff and then have really been demanding of. And then I think the players are really leaning into it. Like, you see how they take the field, how they leave the field. You see how they're getting to the football. I think, when we talk about red line, I think they are really, really diving into it and really making that part of who they are. And so it's fun to see.
And how would you just assess some of these struggles that the first team offense has had over this first week plus?
Well, I think that's day to day, you know what I mean? Or sometimes it even flips in practice like it did today. I think that's what happens when you're going against a good defense or when you're going against a good offense, because there's been days where the offense has made plays on the defense. So I think that part of it is, as you go through training camp, you never want it to be lopsided, because if it's too lopsided, then that means you either can't stop the offense or you can't move the football. You know what I mean? And so I think it's good. I think it's been really, really healthy, the competition in the practice environment so far.
Justin and then Chris.
Just between the medical staff and working with Coach Wade and just being here, how beneficial was the spring period for Gio in his development?
Well, I think it was important. I really believe in our training room. I believe in the doctors and the medical people that work with our team. They do a great job. But there's also a part of it that's on the player, right? Like, how serious is he going to be about attacking his rehab, attacking that process? Some guys get frustrated and, they kind of go through it that way. But Gio wasn't like that. He just, like, the moment he walked in the door, he was dead serious about how fast can I get healthy, and then how fast can I learn what we're doing. And so I think him being here was really beneficial for him.
Chris and Michael.
2 questions for you too, Coach. First, there's a couple of position battles that we've really been watching, particularly at corner and punter. Can you just talk about what you're seeing from the guys who are kind of engaged in those battles?
I think it's been fun to watch. I'm really excited about it. I think, watching, I think Michael Dansby's had a good week of practice. He's really shown up a lot. But it's a lot of fun. Aiden, J. Cole, Dansby, MGK, like that is a super competitive room. And I think because of it, like, all of them are kind of elevating their game, which is fun to see. And then you have, the other members of the back end in that safety room. That's also a fun group. Obviously, there's some guys who have a lot of history and have made a lot of plays, but then you also see some young guys kind of showing up in the mix in there with Coleman, Patman, and Jack Luttrell. I know he played a bunch for us last year, but he's still a young player. So it's been fun to see those guys get in the mix and start to do some stuff.
And then for the home opener, T-Mac and Randy Robbins are going to be inducted into the Ring of Honor. In particular, you coaching T-Mac, this will be the first game at Arizona Stadium since he was a player and he's already getting inducted. Just what it means for his former teammates to still be here, for you to be here, and for him to get that honor.
I think it's an incredible honor, and I think it's well-deserved. T-Mac has been just one of those guys that was always a great representative of the University of Arizona. Watching, we got to watch him play a little bit yet last night, which was fun. Made a couple catches in his first preseason game. But just anytime, him coming back here, being around, he was around some in the spring or, in the late spring and early summer. But just, he loves this place, and this place is special to him. And then I think when you look at the Ring of Honor, there's not a lot of wideouts in there. Right, there's not a lot of wide receivers on the Ring of Honor, so I think it's pretty special. It speaks to the caliber of player he was, or he is, and also speaks to the caliber of person he is. And then Randy's amazing, because when I was a GA, Randy was on staff here. So Randy was our running backs coach. Coach Tomey's last year here, so I'm excited for him too. Obviously an awesome player, but also just an outstanding human being. So 2 great people going up in the Ring of Honor for the Wildcats.
Michael and then Troy.
As last season went on and the offensive line had some issues, Noah started to maybe drift a little bit backward or bounce around. Watching him tonight, stepping up in the pocket, moving forward, his footwork, his fundamentals seem greatly improved. What have you observed in terms of the way Seth Davey is working with him and the other quarterbacks on that stuff?
Well, if you watch like in practice, like Coach Daggy is coaching them all the time, right? So even when you're in special teams period, Coach Daggy has them off on some other part of the field working on something technical for quarterback play. And I think the fact that he has such a healthy relationship with not just Noah, with all of those quarterbacks, also makes those guys want to dive into that technical work that they believe is going to make them a better player. And so I think that, that player-coach relationship is really powerful and really important. And the more trust there is there, the more development and the more gains I think players make. And so I think, you're seeing Noah play with a lot of confidence. And the truth is that, most quarterbacks, it doesn't matter what your stature is, don't see the ball completed. They don't. They're on their back most of the time. You know what I mean? So the fact that Noah's finding those throwing lanes, and he's always been really unique at anticipation and playing with confidence and finding throwing lanes. But I think what we're doing schematically fits him really well. His ability to get the ball out of his hand quickly and make good decisions and fast decisions is really good. And then you see him playing with that confidence and stepping up in the pocket and still delivering accurate throws. It's exciting.
Troy and then Jason Meyer.
I know it's kind of early, but in terms of the receiving core, you guys brought in a lot of talent. Is there a set number that you're looking for in terms of guys you want to play a rotation for the season? Is there a set?
There's not. And honestly, that kind of gets settled over the course of a game. Back when that was my world, I had games where I played, where I rolled 9 guys, and I had games where I rolled 4. It just depends on what kind of effort and production you're getting out of whoever you have out there. And so, but it has been fun to watch because a lot of those guys have made a lot of plays over the course of this training camp so far. And I'm excited because we still have a lot of practice left. So there's still a lot of time for that thing for that competition to continue to get more intense and continue to increase. And I'm excited to see what it looks like when everyone is feeling that, knowing that we're getting closer and closer to game day.
Jason Meyer and then David.
Hi, Coach. Okay, so we're bouncing around a few working titles for ours in the football season preview special. Where did owning the night, or perhaps even the desert night, come from, and can you expand on that a little bit?
Where did it come from? Yeah, the Own the Night came from our marketing team because they're talking about we play all these home games, and I think there's been a little bit of a narrative out there that it is a negative when actually a night game in a packed Arizona stadium is as good of a college football environment as you can be in. And I think that's and I get it because sometimes it ends up being a late night and you end up getting out of here later and all that, but you also get to be part of the greatest sport in America, college football. You get to experience live and in person and feel the band and the crowd and the stadium and the popcorn and the music and the game and just like the opponent fans and just everything that comes with that. And I really think it's sad that a lot of people, not necessarily here, just all over the country, are choosing to stay at home on their couch and watch the game when they're missing out of this incredible experience of actually being there in person to experience that. I think so.
Our last two will be David and Justin.
Coach, in terms of the offense, we've seen a lot of obviously intermixing of guys, in all the groups, running backs and line and wide receivers, but for the most part, Noah and Brady have kind of stayed with their respective units, whatever the first team for that day or second team is for that day is. Why is that, and how important or necessary is it for Brady to get any reps with the quote ones?
Yeah, that's a fair question, I would say. The truth is that Noah is our starter, and we're still in the infancy of a new scheme. And so, he needs as many reps with the guys he's going to be playing in the game as is possible. And, when there's certain pieces moving out of those groups, but it's not a wholesale line change. It's not 6 new wideouts. You know what I mean? There's still guys that are kind of currently at the front of the line going with Noah, and then also with B. Locke. The awesome part is that B. Locke has been playing well. He's done a fantastic job. You know what I mean? And as we go through camp and, some guys get nicked up and some of that stuff goes on, sometimes those things get a little thinner and it gets a little harder in some spots than the other. But I think B-Lock is handling it great, and I think he's really a valuable member of this football team.
Last question, Justin.
For defensive backs like Swade Griffin, whose dad played for Dwayne Aquino, was there any worry about maybe following Dwayne to Texas? Like, how did you guys handle that communication when Dwayne left?
I mean, I would think there's a worry for every player to leave every team in America every single day. You know, I mean, there's no, you know what I mean? The way, especially because we were still carrying 2 transfer portals. You know what I mean? I think, but I also think that over time, Coach Viney developed a great relationship with Swade and his family. We all did. You know, we spent a lot of time with them. And I think Swade really felt comfortable here. And I think he really is excited about going to school here and playing football here. And I think that's one of those things that's always complicated because, you know, the way the musical chairs of college football right now, I don't think it's always great when guys are moving so much, because the question you asked about Malachi Bailey earlier, right? Like, just like there is a cost to starting over. And every time someone starts over, it's, like I mentioned the question earlier, right? It's a new city, it's a new apartment, it's new friends, it's a new team, it's a new scheme, it's a new coach, it's a new head coach, it's a new coordinator. Like, there's so much new that, like, that transition can be really complicated for a young person. And I think Swade's exactly where he should be, and I think he's going to be a great player for us.
And then Swade and Coleman and Wesley, it seems like the Texas recruits are really starting to show. What have you seen out of that group?
Yeah, they've been great. You know, I think, you know, Swade's been dinged up a little bit, but he'll be back with us quickly. And it's been fun to see Coleman start to get some opportunities because he's making the most of them, I think. And then Wesley also did. You know, you guys were out there for the scrimmage the other night, did a great job running the football. And so it's kind of fun to see. You know, anytime a freshman is like, you know, gets an opportunity and takes advantage of it, that's exciting, because you're like, yeah, that's why we recruited him. That's what we saw, you know. That being said, we all know that, like, no freshman is anywhere near what that thing's going to look like in 2, 3, 4 years, right? Like, there's not even close. But I think, you know, if we recruit the right guys, kind of along the lines of what we talked about, you know, when I met with you guys when we started training camp, do they love football? Do they want to be here? And are they tough? And if we do a good job of evaluating those things and bringing in players that can answer yes to those questions, we're going to like what we look like on the field.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, bear down.